You say the words, you write the lists, you visualize, you ask. Again and again, you've done the vision boards, the affirmations, the scripting. You've set your intentions. You've called in your soulmate. You've asked the universe to bring the money, the clarity, the moment where everything finally clicks. But still nothing. Still the silence. The space where something should have arrived by now. And there's that ache in your chest. That question that won't stop whispering, why isn't it working? Let me tell you something I had to learn the hard way. It's not that you're not worthy. It's not that you're asking for too much. It's that your asking is too tight, too clenched, too desperate. It's not the bigness of your desires that blocks them. It's the frequency behind your asking. Because asking from lack is not the same as asking from knowing. Asking from urgency is not the same as asking from embodiment. Asking from fear is not the same as asking from frequency. And the universe, it doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your coherence. You say, I'm ready. But your body still holds the contraction of waiting. You say, I trust. But your nervous system flinches every time the message doesn't come, every time the number in your bank account stays the same. You say, I believe, but your breath tells another story. Shallow, tight, always reaching, never receiving. And that's the truth we're never taught. That your nervous system is your signal, that your regulation is your readiness, that your capacity to feel safe before it arrives is what lets it land. So when you ask, and you ask, and you ask, and still, you receive nothing, it's not a punishment. It's feedback. It's a mirror. It's the universe gently, relentlessly showing you, not this way, not from fear, not from force. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. And when your ask is tangled in the energy of please, the frequency of prove it to me, the vibration of I'll feel safe when it happens, you're still outsourcing your power. You're still waiting to be rescued by the thing. But the universe doesn't respond to begging. It responds to being, to embodiment, to the quiet, grounded knowing that says, I don't need to grasp, because I am the thing I used to chase. I don't need to beg for love, because I am love in form. I don't need to strain for abundance, because my very presence is abundance embodied. Can you feel the difference between pressure and presence, between I need this to happen and I already am the timeline where it has, between asking and aligning? One is noise, the other is music. So here's the thing, you can't over-ask the universe, but you can over-effort your signal. You can fracture your frequency with too much trying. You can distort the transmission with static, fear, doubt, obsession, micromanagement. And the more you chase the outcome, the more you tell your body, it's not safe here yet. It's not happening. It's not enough. And your body listens. Your subconscious listens. Your field listens. So what gets amplified? Not your desire, your dissonance, your incoherence, your lack. That's what speaks loudest when you grip too hard. And I know it's not your fault. We were taught to hustle, to prove, to fight for what we want. We were taught to perform worthiness instead of remembering it, to earn our blessings instead of becoming them. But this isn't about guilt. This is about awareness. This is about power, real power, the kind that doesn't have to scream, the kind that just is. Because the most potent ask you can ever make is the one that doesn't sound like a question at all. It sounds like resonance, like embodiment, like a signal so clean, so calm, so clear, the universe has no choice but to rearrange itself around it, not because you're demanding it, but because you've become it. So what does that actually feel like, becoming it? It's not a concept. It's not an idea you think your way into. It's not another affirmation on your mirror. It's a shift in your breath, a loosening in your jaw, a softening in your belly. It's the moment you realize, I'm no longer waiting for this to come. I am already the version of me it's destined to meet. It's subtle, quiet, almost invisible on the outside, but inside, it's everything. And yes, your mind will fight it. It'll say, but I don't see it yet. It'll scream, how can I trust when nothing's changing? It'll demand proof, and the proof never comes when we're asking for it like that, because the energy of needing evidence blocks the evidence. The vibration of doubt delays the delivery. When you keep checking the soil to see if the seed is growing, you disrupt the entire process. That's what most people miss. They're not asking too much. They're checking too often. They're doubting too loudly. They're leaking energy through the cracks of impatience. And the universe, it doesn't punish that, but it does wait. Not out of cruelty, but coherence. Because when you're split inside, when one part of you is trying to believe while another part is bracing for disappointment, Your frequency sends mixed signals. The field can't respond clearly to static. You want clarity from the universe? Give it clarity from within. You want momentum? Drop the mental loops. You want speed? Create stillness. You want it to land faster? Stop running after it. Sit down. Get quiet. Let your nervous system become the signal. It's all happening through the body. Not outside you, not later. Now. In the sensations you resist, in the emotions you bury, in the moments where nothing seems to be happening, and yet something deep inside is softening, rewiring, becoming coherent. That's the real manifestation work, because the moment you feel safe in the absence is the moment the presence begins to form. The moment you stop chasing alignment and feel it is the moment the timeline shifts. You become a living magnet, not because you said the right words, but because your being became the answer. Think of a radio. If you're just a little off the right frequency, the song you want won't come through. You'll hear static, distortion. But when you tune it just right, click, clarity, music, ease. The same applies to you. You are the instrument, and the song you hear is a reflection of how finely you're tuned. You don't need to beg the radio to play the song. You just need to match its frequency. That's how the universe works. Not with judgment, with response, with reflection, with resonance. So if you're asking and asking and asking and getting nothing in return, the question is not, what else can I do? It's, where am I not yet coherent? Where am I gripping too hard? Where am I outsourcing my safety to the outcome instead of sourcing it from within? Because when you feel like you're asking too much, the truth is, you're not. You're simply not resting in the knowing that you already are what you seek. You're not in the posture of having. You're still in the vibration of hoping, and the field can feel the difference. So can you, and that's where the real shift begins. Not with another ritual, not with more doing, but with a reorientation of your inner posture, with the way you hold yourself in the in-between, with the way you breathe when nothing has changed, yet everything inside you has. Because the moment you stop asking from the wound and start living from the wholeness, the signal clears. The field recognizes you. The timeline collapses. But I know how seductive the grasping can be. The mind will try to convince you that if you let go, you're giving up. That if you stop chasing, you'll be left behind. That your desire is a reward you have to earn with enough spiritual effort, emotional strain, perfect vibration. But that's the old paradigm speaking. That's control wearing a costume of devotion. Real magnetism isn't born from trying harder. It's born from softening deeper, from settling into the version of you that already exists on the other side of the desire, and letting that version do the broadcasting, not with force, but with frequency. So how do you find that version? You listen for her in the silence. You notice who you become when you stop performing worthiness. You feel for the part of you that already knows, already trusts, already embodies. She's there, underneath the fear, underneath the tension, in the quiet moments when your breath slows, and something inside you whispers, this is the work, right here, this stillness, this surrender. Because the moment you truly let go, not in resignation but in revelation, you become a new field entirely. Not the person trying to attract the thing, the person who is the thing, the frequency that matches it without needing to ask, the embodiment that magnetizes without reaching. And that's when the shift happens. That's when the phone rings, the offer lands, the miracle clicks, not because you forced it, but because you became the space where it was always destined to arrive. There's something sacred about no longer needing it to prove your worth, about being able to hold the desire with reverence, not urgency, to feel it in your body like a song already sung, to know it's on the way, because you are already aligned with the timeline where it is. And sometimes the ask you think you're making, the money, the love, the opportunity, is really just a proxy, a doorway into a deeper desire, to feel safe, to feel chosen, to feel seen. And when you give yourself that frequency first, the outer forms rearrange around it. You don't get what you want when you need it to fix you. You get it when you no longer need fixing. When your wholeness becomes louder than your fear, when your energy becomes undeniable. This is why asking from lack gets you nowhere. Because lack doesn't attract, it repels, it contracts. It says, I am not yet whole, I am not yet ready, I am not yet safe. But wholeness. Wholeness is gravity. It pulls timelines toward you. It bends reality around you. It doesn't plead. It doesn't rush. It remembers. It reclaims. And when you stand in that, when you stop trying to get and start becoming, That's when the universe leans in. That's when the thing that felt so far finally moves toward you. Not because you begged, but because you became. There's a moment, a sacred, almost imperceptible moment, when the frequency flips, when the question dissolves, when the grasp loosens, when the thing you've been trying so hard to call in stops feeling like something out there and starts feeling like something you already carry. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or confirmation. It's quiet, gentle, subtle, like a breath you didn't know you were holding finally exhaling. And in that exhale, reality changes. Because manifestation doesn't happen in the pressure. It happens in the pause, in the space where control has surrendered, where the signal has cleared, where your body is finally broadcasting safety, not survival. That's when the field can meet you. That's when the outcome can find you. It doesn't find the version of you who's begging the sky for a sign. It finds the version of you who is no longer split, no longer asking from fear, no longer checking every hour to see if it's arrived. Here it finds the version of you who is so deeply in the frequency, she no longer needs the evidence, because she is the evidence. That's coherence. When your thoughts, your emotions, your breath, your posture, your energy, all begin to speak the same language, all begin to emit the same truth. Not I want it, but it's already mine. Not when will it come, but I already carry it. Not how do I make it happen, but how can I keep being the space where it must happen? You see, the universe doesn't speak English. It doesn't read your journal. It doesn't hear the words you scream into the night. It feels your signal. It responds to your coherence, your vibration, your embodiment. That's the language of creation. That's the signal you're always sending, even when you're not speaking. And when you're asking from a place of, I don't have this yet, you're broadcasting absence, lack, separation. But when you drop into the version of you that has, not hypothetically but viscerally, you collapse time. You become the bridge. And yes, that requires trust. Not the kind of trust that waits with crossed fingers and held breath, but the kind of trust that breathes fully, that lives fully, that moves through the world like it already knows, because it does. That kind of trust is magnetic. It doesn't ask, where is it? It says, of course it's on the way. It doesn't ask, how long will it take? It says, I'm already the one who receives. It doesn't need proof. It is the proof. So if you feel like you're not receiving, look not at the ask, but at the energy underneath it, the signal your body is sending, the vibration your field is holding. Are you asking from faith or from fear? From presence or from pressure? From wholeness or from a hidden wound? Because the universe is not ignoring you. It's mirroring you. It's reflecting the frequency you're most consistently being, not your effort, your essence. And essence doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it doesn't contract, it rests, it radiates, it remembers, and in that remembering, everything shifts, everything returns, everything realigns, not through more trying, but through more truth. Truth has a frequency. You can feel it, not in your head, in your body. It's the sensation when something inside you clicks into place, not because you figured it out, but because you remembered. Truth doesn't need convincing. It doesn't argue. It doesn't defend. It just resonates. And when you're finally rooted in truth, in the deep cellular knowing that you are already worthy, already connected, already whole, you stop asking in the old way. You stop needing to be answered. You begin to realize, I was never waiting for the thing. I was waiting to become the one who no longer needs it to feel complete. That's the paradox of all of this. You get the thing when you no longer need the thing to feel safe. You receive the relationship when you've stopped needing someone to rescue you from your aloneness. You attract the money when you've stopped outsourcing your security to numbers on a screen. You don't manifest what fills the gap. You manifest when you become the one who knows there is no gap, no missing piece, no separation. And yet, that doesn't mean you don't want. It doesn't mean you suppress your desires or pretend to be above them. No, it means you want from wholeness, you desire from groundedness. You call it in not because it will complete you, but because it already matches you. That's the difference between craving and claiming. Craving says, I need it to feel enough. So claiming says, I already am enough. And this is simply aligned. Craving is static. Claiming is signal. Craving pushes it away. Claiming pulls it in. This is why the more you try to manifest from force, the more you exhaust yourself, because you're trying to build a new reality with the materials of the old self. You're using the energy of lack to attract abundance, the energy of proving to call in love, the energy of control to embody flow. And the universe, It doesn't punish that, but it waits. It waits for you to come into coherence, to clean your frequency, to become honest with yourself about what you're really broadcasting, because it can feel the split. It can feel the micro-doubt behind the affirmation, the tightness behind the visualization, the fear behind the smile, the clenching in your gut that says, I need this or I'm not okay. And until that softens, the field can't meet you clearly. So the work isn't more asking. The work is more attuning to safety, to ease, to your already wholeness. And yes, that might mean slowing down. That might mean doing less. That might mean sitting in the discomfort of not being in control and letting that discomfort melt into a new level of trust. Because the truth is, your next manifestation isn't waiting for you to ask louder. It's waiting for you to feel safer in the now, to regulate your nervous system enough that your frequency becomes clean, to embody the energy of having, not because you're faking it, but because you found it within. That's when it comes. That's when it finds you. That's when the invisible clicks into the visible, not as a reward, but as a match. Not because you finally got it right, but because you finally got real. Getting real doesn't mean collapsing into doubt. It means standing up inside your body with a new kind of authority, the kind that doesn't wait for confirmation to feel certain, the kind that doesn't require evidence to feel anchored. It's not performative, it's primal, rooted, alive. It's the quiet power that arises when you stop leaking energy into the question and start radiating from the answer. You are the answer, not the outcome, not the manifestation, not the person or the amount or the moment. You, the you that already exists beyond the needing, beyond the efforting, beyond the performance. The you who remembers, not with your mind but with your field, that everything you're calling in is just a reflection of who you've decided to be. And if there's a split in that decision, a quiet, but what if I'm wrong? A subtle, I hope this works. The field can feel it, so can you. That's why it still feels heavy. That's why it still feels far. But the moment you stop hoping and start embodying, the whole structure shifts, not because of what you're doing, but because of who you're being while you do it. Embodiment is the bridge, and the body doesn't lie. You can say all the right words. You can script your dream life down to the minute. But if your breath still shortens when you check your bank account, if your chest still tightens every time you think of love, if your jaw still clenches when you imagine trusting life, then the signal is still mixed, and the universe will wait, not to test you, but to match you, precisely, lovingly, unwaveringly. And I know that waiting can feel cruel. I know the silence can sound like rejection. I know how easily the mind interprets the absence as evidence of lack, of failure, of not enoughness. But the silence is not saying no, it's saying, not yet, not until you stop splitting your signal, not until your body agrees with your words, not until your energy feels safe enough to let it land, not until you stop needing it to arrive in order to feel whole. That's the final layer, the one most people avoid, because it asks you to feel the void, to breathe into the part that doesn't know, to soften into the uncertainty, and still say, I trust. That's embodiment. It's not being high vibe all the time. It's being true all the time, honest, regulated, present. It's feeling your fear and not making it wrong. It's noticing the doubt and not needing to fix it. It's staying in the body when the mind spirals and breathing until the signal clears. And from there, from that quiet place of realness, you begin to broadcast a new frequency, one that doesn't ask, one that is, and everything changes from there. Because you didn't just change your thoughts, you changed your field. When your field changes, your life catches up. Not always in the way you expect, not always in the timeline your ego demands, but inevitably, unfailingly, because the field doesn't lie, and the outer world can't help but reflect the new resonance you're holding. This is where most people sabotage themselves, right at the edge of coherence, right at the moment the shift is stabilizing. They rush, they panic, they revert, not because they're weak, but because their body isn't yet familiar with sustained safety, because their nervous system is still wired for survival, not receiving, for hustling, not harmonizing. So when things start to slow down, when the noise gets quiet, when the doing softens, when the external hasn't caught up yet, they mistake that spaciousness for something being wrong, when really, it's the first sign something real is integrating. The space is not a void, it's a womb. The pause is not a punishment, it's preparation. The silence is not abandonment, it's alignment, recalibrating. But to stay in that in-between, to hold the frequency there, and when nothing is proving it yet. That's where the magic lives, that's where timelines collapse, that's where the new you is born, and you don't need to do anything extra to stabilize it. You just need to stay. Stay in the breath, stay in the body, stay in the knowing that you are no longer asking from absence, you are living from embodiment. It's like walking through a hallway between realities. You've left the old room. The door is closed, but the new one hasn't opened yet. And every part of you wants to turn back, wants to knock louder, wants to demand an answer. But if you can just be in that hallway, if you can stay coherent even there, the door opens on its own. And not just to what you wanted, but to what you didn't even know was possible. Because when you stop needing reality to reassure you, it finally can. When you stop splitting your attention between what is and what isn't, your signal becomes singular, whole, clean. And that clarity is what bends light. It's what bends time. It's what draws the outcome to you like a homing beacon. Not through force, but through frequency. And that's the irony. The less you try to pull it in, the more naturally it comes. The less you ask from fear, the more you become the answer. The less you manage, the more you magnetize. It's not magic. It's mechanics. It's coherence. It's embodiment. It's remembering that you were never meant to chase, you were meant to tune. And tuning doesn't happen in the head. It happens in the breath, in the softening, in the becoming. So if you've been asking and receiving nothing, maybe it's time to stop asking with your words and start asking with your being, because the field isn't listening to what you say. It's listening to who you are, and who you are is not the you that doubts, not the you that waits, not the you that panics in the pause or clutches in the quiet. That's the old self-echoing, the residue of a version of you who thought she had to earn it, prove it, strive for it. That's not who you are now, not anymore. Now, you are the transmission, you are the field, you are the answer to the asking. And in this moment, right now, you can let go of the chase. You can drop the invisible grip around your desire. You can stop micromanaging your own becoming. Because what you want, it's not somewhere else, it's here. Closer than your thoughts, closer than your skin. It's in the way your chest softens when you exhale, in the way your spine straightens when you stop bracing, in the way your eyes change when you know, without seeing, that it's done. This is the power you've been searching for, not in another manifestation hack, not in another teacher's words, but in your own silence, your own signal, your own steady being. And you'll know when you found it, because it won't feel like a rush. It won't feel like an emotional high. It'll feel like a remembering, like a settling, like the exhale after years of holding your breath for something outside you to finally say, you're safe now. But the truth is, you were always safe. You just needed to feel it in your nervous system before reality could reflect it in form. You just needed to stop asking from the fracture and start being from the frequency. That's when the shift lands. That's when the delay dissolves. That's when what you've been calling in arrives with a grace so effortless, it almost makes you laugh. Not because it's random, but because you finally stopped making it harder than it needed to be. You finally stopped asking from the wound and started radiating from the wholeness. So let this be the moment you stop doubting your signal. Let this be the breath where you remember who you actually are, not the seeker, the source, not the asker, the embodiment, not the one who waits for the proof, but the one who is the proof. Let this be the moment you stop reaching and start resonating.